Thank you. I love that. Yeah. My name is John Gerber. It says so right here. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst. I use he, him pronouns. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old, in the Zoom and in the sanctuary. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many faiths, many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. As part of our effort to seek feedback on the governance of our congregation, you are invited to join us in the first 15 minutes of any regular meeting of the board, chatting with us during the social hour, or by using the email address board@uusociety.org. Also, please plan on joining us today, right after the service. Here in the sanctuary, we'll have an update on next year's budget. Your input regarding our financial priorities is needed, and we are currently looking at projecting a deficit. So we'd like your thoughts and opinions. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Allyson Bull, and I am today's worship leader. I use she, her pronouns. Today, I will be reflecting on how the picture book, The Three Questions by John Muth, has wiggled its way into my life as a sacred text, and how its message helps me stay grounded in the present moment. We will also be hearing from our May dedicated offering organization, the Movement Voter Fund. Also, a note, I've changed the order of service since I sent it to Leah to be printed. So we will just switch the order of hymns number 3 and 4. Okay, so we'll sing meditation on breathing after the sermon, and For All the Fret and Fever of the Day will be our meditation hymn. Just follow along with the slides and the worship leaders, and you'll be fine.
Good morning. My name is Anne Louise White, and I am today's worship associate. I use she and her pronouns. While local COVID numbers are lower, masks are optional in the sanctuary. Please reserve the balcony section near the windows for those who choose to wear masks. We call you to worship this morning with these words by Shannon Barry. Out of the din of the city,
away from the noise of the crowds, we come
to rest in this moment,
in this place,
set apart from the never-ending to-do lists,
embracing the seventh day, a day of rest.
We come to the warmth and stillness
of this sacred hour.
Remember, you have chosen to be here. Something in your life led you to arrive here now.
Whatever tasks and cares await you, now for this brief time, simply rest.
Allow your soul to be nurtured. Let the waves in your mind and heart gradually subside.
As you come home to yourself, holy and whole. Come, let us worship together.
And I'm going to invite you to say the chalice lighting words with me. We light this flame to invite a world of peace, where we heal the wounds, where we share what we have with one another, where justice is another word for relationship, and we listen for what love has to say. Please rise in body or spirit in all the ways that you are able on this day and in this moment to join in singing hymn 389, Gathered Here. The words can be found in the gray hymnal and also on the screen.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle Spirit, draw near. Thank you. So I'm going to share a story with you this morning. Do you ever have a hard time doing the right thing? Or making the right choices? Anybody? Is that ever difficult? Yeah. Well, in this story, there's a child who wants to do the right thing and be a good person. And so he goes on a journey. You can come over here, Letty, if you want to look at the pictures. To find the answers to his 3 questions. So I'm going to tell the story, and Anne Louise is going to show the pictures, okay? So make sure you're sitting somewhere where you can see, and try to make sure that you're not blocking anybody else's view. And feel free to move, but then, don't block anybody, okay? She'll make sure that you have a good look. Okay. There once was a boy named Nikolai who sometimes felt uncertain about the right way to act. I want to be a good person, he told his friends, but I don't always know the best way to do that. Nikolai's friends understood, and they wanted to help him. If only I could find answers to my 3 questions, Nikolai continued, then I would always know what to do. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? Nikolai's friends considered his first question. Then Sonia, the heron, spoke. To know the best time to do things, one must plan in advance, she said. Gogol, the monkey, who'd been rooting around in the leaves looking for something good to eat, said, you'll know when to do things when you watch and pay attention. Then Pushkin the dog, who had been dozing off, rolled over and said, you can't pay attention to everything yourself. You need a pack to watch and help you decide when to do things. For example, Gogol, a coconut's going to fall on your head. Nikolai thought for a moment. Then he asked his second question. Who is the most important one? Those who are closest to heaven, said Sonia, circling up into the sky. Those who know how to help heal the sick, said Gogol, stroking his bruised noggin. Those who make the rules, growled Pushkin. Nikolai thought some more. Then he asked the third question. What is the right thing to do? Flying, said Sonia. Having fun all the time, said Gogol. Fighting, barked Pushkin. Then Nikolai thought for a long while. He loved his friends. He knew they were all trying their best to answer his questions, but their answers didn't seem quite right. I know, he thought. I will ask Leo the turtle. He has lived for a very long time. Surely he will know the answers I'm looking for. So Nikolai hiked high up into the mountains where the old turtle lived alone. When Nikolai arrived, he found Leo digging in the garden. The turtle was old, and digging was hard for him. I have 3 questions, and I've come to ask for your help, Nikolai said. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Leo listened carefully, but he only smiled. Then he went on digging. You must be tired, Nikolai said at last. Let me help you. The old turtle gave him his shovel and thanked him. And because it was easier for a young boy to dig than it was for an old turtle, he quickly finished digging all the rows. But just as he finished, the wind blew wildly and rain burst from darkened clouds. As they moved toward the cottage for shelter, Nikolai suddenly heard a cry for help! Running down the path, he found a panda whose leg had been injured by a fallen tree. Carefully, Nikolai carried her into Leo's house and made a splint for her leg with a stick of bamboo. The storm raged on, banging at the windows and doors. Then the panda woke up. Where am I? She said. And where is my child? The boy ran out of the cottage and down the path. The roar of the storm was deafening. Pushing against the howling wind and drenching rain, he ran farther into the forest. There he found the panda's child, cold and shivering on the ground. The little panda was wet and scared, but alive. Nikolai carried her inside and made her warm and dry. Then he laid her in her mother's arms. Leo smiled when he saw what the boy had done. The next morning, the sun was warm, the birds sang, and all was well with the world. The panda's leg was healing nicely, and she thanked Nikolai for saving her and her child. At that moment, Sonia, Gogol, and Pushkin arrived to make sure everyone was all right. Nikolai felt great peace within himself. He had wonderful friends, and he had saved the panda and her child. But he also felt disappointed. He had still not found the answers to his 3 questions. So he asked Leo one more time. The old turtle looked at the boy. "But your questions have been answered," he said. "They have?" said the boy. "Yesterday, if you had not stayed to help me dig my garden, you wouldn't have heard the panda's cries for help in the storm. Therefore, the most important time was the time you spent digging in the garden. The most important one at that moment was me, and the most important thing to do was to help me with my garden. Later, when you found the injured panda, the most important time was the time you spent mending her leg and saving her child. The most important ones were the panda and her baby, and the most important thing to do was to take care of them and keep them safe. Remember then, there is only one important time, and that time is now. The most important one is always the one you are with, and the most important thing to do is to do good for the one who is standing at your side. For these, my dear boy, are the answers to what is most important in this world." I want you to think about that today, okay? When you go down to RE, your most important time is then, and the most important ones are who? Yeah.
The kids. I was so excited when I heard that Allyson was going to be reading this story today, because what we are doing in religious education is we are making a map, but not a map of a place. We're making a map of how we are connected to different things, and those things are connected to other things. Ember, you look so excited. And we are going to focus on sea turtles, because that was the charity that our kids have chosen to support, is a marine aquarium that focuses on sea turtle and other marine animal rescue. And so we are going to map both how we are connected to that work and how that work can connect back to us. So I'm going to invite the congregation to join in singing
The hymn of the month.
the hymn of the month.
Love.
The hymn of the month. There is a love. It is not in your hymnal.
The words are on the screen or in your order of service.
And I would invite the children to join me. All of us are going to be together, including our junior youth group folks. So we are going to head all into classroom A.
Thank you.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
I didn't choose to share John Muth's version of the story, The Three Questions, today because it's my favorite story. It is not one my children love, and in fact, it's one I find quite boring. I chose to share this story with you this morning because this story has somehow wiggled its way into my world as a sacred text. It's one I find myself thinking about and turning to regularly as a reminder of what is truly important. It is a story that has changed the way I see the world and how I walk within it. The transition to motherhood was not easy for me. I have always been a doer, someone who works hard, is always on the move, and fills her plate with more projects than seem possible to juggle all at once. So for me, the pace of life at home with an infant was frustrating. I found myself bored and exhausted much of the time. This wasn't supposed to be hard for me, the teacher, babysitter, foster parent extraordinaire. Being a mom and raising a family was what I had dreamed of, planned for, and imagined for as long as I could remember, and yet it wasn't what I had expected. I found myself coping with the monotony by making plans for the future, what I would plant in the garden come spring, how I might redecorate my house or renovate my kitchen, how Annie and I would schedule our time and divide the chores once I went back to work. I would spend my days dreaming of a future that was perfectly planned, orderly, and structured. A time for everything and everything in its place. Because if I could just figure out the best way to structure my time, then I wouldn't be overwhelmed. If I could figure out a schedule for when to do things, I would never get behind or get caught unprepared, having to pull an all-nighter before the first snow of the season or before the arrival of chicks in the spring. I was desperate for answers on how to fit all the things that needed doing into a day, a week, a year. And I didn't want to feel so tired, so restless, and so anxious all the time. I thought that if I could just finish all the tasks on my list, then maybe there would time to be to relax and be happy. It was during this time that I first read the 3 questions aloud. My eldest has always loved books, so when the book arrived in a package from her cousin, she wanted to read it right away. So we did, but I didn't get it. I thought it the most boring, unsatisfying children's book ever, and I didn't think it actually answered any of the questions I most desperately needed answers for. It seemed far-fetched to me that the right thing to do would always be so obvious. So over the next few years, I tried to avoid reading it as much as possible. But no matter where I tried to hide it, it would always find its way back off the shelf. Over the next few years, as our family grew, it showed up again and again, and I read it repeatedly, never quite fully understanding the message, but knowing there was likely truth in there somewhere. Then one evening, deep in the middle of the pandemic, as I sat nestled between my 3 children, one on each side and one in my lap, the story suddenly made sense. I could feel its message deep in my body, and it touched a part of my soul that needed awakening. I finally understood. The most important time is now. The most important ones are the ones I am with. The most important thing, to do good for the ones sitting on my lap. Why was this message so inaccessible to me for so long? What happened in that moment to jog me out of my stuckness and wake me up to the simple yet profound truth contained in those pages? I have pondered that for a few years now. I'm not sure I will ever know what specifically led to my enlightenment, but I do think it was one of the gifts of becoming a parent of twins during a global pandemic. Our survival depended on living each moment as it came. Meeting everyone's basic needs was all I could focus on, and that forced me to start living in the moment. Living mindfully, remembering to breathe, and singing helped me not only to survive, but also to find joy. Once I had begun to experience living more mindfully, I was open to the messages in John Muth's retelling of the 3 questions. And since then, this story has become quite meaningful for me. It has become a sacred text. I find its message resonating as I go through my daily tasks. I find myself turning to those 3 questions as a way to remind myself of what is truly important and of the values I want to live in my life and bring into the world. to refocus my intention on building connections and fostering relationships rather than focusing my energy on perfection and productivity. Is this easy? No. This is a growing edge for me. Living in the moment is something I am working on. I am trying to be gentle with myself and not let the expectation of being a patient, present person become yet another perfectionistic pursuit. I have always assumed that mindfulness was only achieved through a dedicated daily meditation practice. While that is one way that works for some people and something that I might aspire to someday, there are many ways to live mindfully. As I said, I'm not someone for whom sitting still comes easily, but I have found ways to live in what I'm calling active mindfulness, focusing on the present moment no matter what I'm doing, be it cleaning stalls, washing dishes, or listening to my kids tell stories of their day. I have noticed it's easier to do this when I'm at my best, well-rested, calm, fed. When my basic needs are met, it's easier to focus on each moment and find the unexpected joys that await when fully in tune with the world around me. But I often find the stresses, pressures, and expectations placed on me by the outside world and the challenges of everyday life pull me from the present moment. It's in those moments when I find myself perseverating on the past or planning for the future that I begin to feel anxious and overwhelmed. I feel the pressure to do more, be more, and have it figured out perfectly. And that's when I become disconnected from myself and from those around me. That's when I notice the harmful cultural values of urgency, perfectionism, and defensiveness seeping in, and my anger begin to rise. When I begin to act in ways that can cause harm to myself and to others. Here are some examples, and you might think of some of your own. When I am anxious because my task list is long and overwhelming and I don't know how I will possibly finish it on time and I lose my temper, that's urgency, the pressure to be productive at all costs. And that's damaging, and it disconnects me from those with whom I'm in relationship. When I notice the critical voice in my head saying, if your house isn't picked up and your children aren't behaved and dinner is not cooked locally with organic ingredients, then you're a failure, that's perfectionism. That's damaging, and it disconnects me from myself and from others. When I've lost my temper and yelled at my kids for spilling milk and making us late, and then tell them it's their fault we're late and blame them for losing my temper in the first place, that's defensiveness. And it fuels disconnection and shame. But when I can recognize these moments of disconnection and pause to reframe my expectations, I find I can recenter myself by asking these 3 questions. When is the most important time? Now. Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Then I breathe as I settle into the present moment and remember what I truly value. My focus shifts. My anger begins to dissipate, and I can refocus my intention on the person in front of me. Sometimes, oftentimes, that person is me. And I find myself reminding that voice in my head that I am enough just as I am. That right here, right now, I am doing what I'm supposed to do, and that is enough. Then I can sometimes find more patience. I might remember to breathe. When I'm able to do this, to center myself enough to truly be in the present moment, I find I notice more beauty. I feel more connected to others. I feel deep love and even joy. I will close with one final example of how this simple story and these questions have helped me be more present and find more connected love. A few months ago, I had one of those days where everything piled up and I was overwhelmed with anxiety at the thought of tasks that lay before me that afternoon while the twins took their naps. The kitchen was a mess. I hadn't yet cleaned the barn. The laundry needed to be turned over. There were 4 unfolded loads of clean clothes piled on the couch, and dinner needed to be made before we left for gymnastics. Getting 4-year-old twins to do anything is a challenge, but after a number of distractions, including flushing the toilet multiple times to watch the toilet bowl reservoir refill, I had finally gotten both of them into their beds for their naps, covered them with blankets, and turned out the light when one of them whined, "Mommy, Mommy, I need to tell you something." I felt my anger surge. I didn't have time for this. I was tempted to say, "No, go to sleep," and shut the door. But the 3 questions popped into my head. I took a breath. When is the most important time? Now. Inhale, exhale. Who is the most important one? Another breath. What is the most important thing? Deep inhale, exhale. I walked calmly over to his bed and sat down. He took my face in both of his chubby hands, looked into my eyes earnestly, and said to me, "Mommy, you my best in the whole world." There is only one important time, and that time is now. The most important one is the one you are with. The right thing to do is to do good for the one who is standing by your side. Those are the answers to what is most important in this world. This is why we are here. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. As you feel moved, please join in with us and sing a meditation on breathing. You may rise or remain seated as it feels right for you. Sing whichever part feels right for you in this moment. Switch between parts as you are called. This is a singing meditation, and it will last for as long as it needs. So much undone, so much to do, So much to heal in us and the world. So much to acquire. A meal, a healthy body, a fit one, a lover, a job, a better job, proof we have and are enough just around the corner of now. And up against it, the reality of all that falls short and the limits of today. We honor the limits. If your body won't do what it used to, for right now, let it be enough. If your mind won't stop racing or can't think of the word, let it be enough. If you are here utterly alone and in despair, be all that here with us. If today you cannot sing because your throat hurts or you don't have the heart for music, be silent. When the offering plate goes around, if you don't have the money to give or the heart to give, let it pass. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. All hope won't be lost. You are part of the plan for this world's salvation. Of that I have no doubt. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash fear from the beachheads and cleanse all wounds so they can heal. But oceans are big, and I am sure there are parts that don't feel up to the task of the whole some days. Rest, if you must then, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air. Rest in pews made to hold weary lives, in space carved out for the doing of nothing much but being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones, in your weary heart, the aching, healing sense that this is enough, even this, that we are enough, you are enough. For these and all the meditations of our hearts unspoken in this hour, I say amen. We are running quite a bit. Oh no, we're fine. Sorry. Never mind. We're going to sing our meditation hymn, number 90, From All the Fret and Fever of the Day.
Read the small print up there. We're very pleased to be with you all here in this moment and enjoying with you Allyson's leadership from the perspective of very proud parents.
Did you push over?
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within. The prophet soon turned strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long, to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed. Amen, amen,
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you. Thank you to Brenda, to my parents, Mindy and Bill, to Carolyn and Kat and Anne Louise and Robin for today's music. Thank you to Elliot and John for running tech and Kyle for helping out. To today's greeters, Melanie and Larry and Kay, and to the Mac First family who are this morning's social hour hosts. Thank you to Anne Louise and Robin and Jenny and the rest of my Story Sermon cohort for your help and support as I put today's service together. To my brother-in-law Joe for putting the picture book, The Three Questions, on my bookshelf. And to all of you for being here and bringing yourselves to be in community with me this morning. We're about to sing our closing song. You can stay right where you are and be held in the love of this congregation, or you are welcome to form a circle along the outer aisles as we sing. This day we come once more together. As winds of earth call forth our names, my people, from the strength of this circle, may we come rejoicing, determined, united in love of life again. Suspended between all that was and all that might be, we struggle to find this very moment, to live this very moment. Let us stand together for a moment and savor this moment. Let us relish this time between where past meets future. Let us harbor a faith that reminds us that right now, right here, is just enough. May it be so. Yeah.